Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to Something to Talk About. Well, we'll be talking about Richard Horpe, the guy with the moths on his sigil. And yeah, that's kind of what I got going on today. He's kind of an edgy guy. So yeah, but before we get into it, I need to say, hi everybody! Welcome to Something to Talk About. My name is Taco, and I talk about a song of ice and fire lore. And if you don't know what's going on, well, pause your screen and read all of this. That's what I do here. I do that stuff. So, anyways, for those who paused it, hi. For those who've been here before, sup, man? You didn't need to pause anything. Let's move on to Richard Horpe. Did I say Thorpe earlier? Richard Horpe. Richard Horpe is great. He's one of those like the last time through, I'm like, man, I'm hearing a lot about Richard Horpe, and I've never even thought about the guy before, but he's kind of an edgy dude. Not like Dark Lord edgy, but his nickname's like the Slayer and the Knight of Moths, and he looks like this. Uh, so he's kind of I like him. He's kind of got like a gothy feel to him. Big fan. So let's just jump into it. Our first story of the day is a Philip DeFranco joke. Knight of Moths. Sir Richard Horpe is a knight of House Horpe in service to Stannis Baratheon. Sir Richard is lean, dark-haired, hard-eyed. Man, those eyes are hard. Uh, his face is marred by pockmarks and old scars. Wow. He enjoys battle and killing. He's so edgy. Love it. Richard's quilted doublet and faded surcoat display 3 death head moths of House Horpe. He armors himself in plate and mail. Hey, he's just your normal soldier. He just loves killing. That's another edgy thing about him. He's not like Clayton Suggs awful, who's like, can we burn people today? He's like, hey, if we have to, we can burn people. Richard's just a little like one step down. All right, so let's talk about House Horpe. So House Horpe is a noble house from the Stormlands. According to semi-canon resources, their heraldry is engraved gray and bone with 3 death head moths countercharged. I don't know these flag words, man. Their words are not known. Probably something like, have the lands gone silent yet, Clarice? If I were to guess House Horpe's words, it would be like, put the lotion in the basket. They look like Silence of the Lambs. All right. Sir Harry's Horpe was once a warrior's son who was killed in the Trial of 7 by Maegor Targaryen. He is possibly slain by Lucifer Massey. I just wanted to throw that in. You guys remember Maegor's Trial of the 7? Now you do. All right. Rejected Knight. Now let's get into his story. All right. As a squire, Richard wanted to join the Kingsguard. Robert had many slots to fill, but after Cersei Lannister objected to him, King Robert chose another knight. We are not sure which knight specifically, and we'll kind of cover that. We'll see. I mean, there's not too much to cover about Richard Horpe, so. All right. When the War of Five Kings starts, Richard joins the forces of Stannis, considered one of the Queen's men, meaning he is more loyal to Melisandre and the Lord of Light than Stannis. Although when it comes to Queen's men, he is kind of one of the less hardcore Queen's men. Like Axel Floren's pretty hardcore, and then you got like your let's burn things like Audrey, Giant Slayer, and Clayton Suggs. He's a little more chill. I don't think Richard Horpe's like nuts, I mean, he kind of seems a little crazy, but not like nuts like the other ones. All right. He fights in the Battle of the Blackwater for Stannis, and when the battle turns against them, Richard and Sir Justin Massley wisely convince Stannis to retreat to Dragonstone. Stannis still kind of holds it against both of them, but they are the reason why Stannis ran away when he did. I think it was Roland Storm who held the flank, or held off so they actually could retreat, but it was these guys who were like, let's get out of here, man. You ready for my favorite picture I'll be showing today? No offense to the other pictures, those were great, but this guy, oh man, this one's great by Yap Attack. I love it. It's the only one that really the other one's just a couple scars, a couple of scars, and this one's like, no man, let's make them cut up. I love it. All right. Richard Mothy Horpe, that's his nickname, joins Stannis when he travels to the wall. During the battle beneath the wall, the wildling Dormund is killed by a knight with moss on his shield, most likely Richard. He is part of Stannis' court at Castle Black as a Queen's man. The ambitious Richard desires to claim Winterfell, although Stannis has no intention of granting him the castle. Stannis sends Horpe and Justin Massey south on the King's Road. Jon thinks of them as the wrong way Rangers. And yeah, they went the wrong way. But they came back and then did another council. So this is Stannis' other war council. When Richard and Massey return, Stannis calls a war council. Jon Snow and then Queensmen, that's just, and a bunch of Queensmen, Rattleshirt and Sigorn also attend. I want to say it was like those two, so the two wrong way Rangers, so Richard Horpe, Justin Massey, and then it was like Godfrey Giant Slayer, and maybe Clayton Suggs was also there, and then and then it was like Sigorn, Rattleshirt, Melisandre all showed up. So that was like who was at the meeting. With the Boltons marching south, Stannis wishes to take the Dreadfort by surprise. Jon shuts this down and claims it's too risky. Richard Horpe advocates for attacking the Dreadfort, claiming that risk is a part of war. Jon convinces Stannis, however, and the king instead marches to court the northern mountain clans. After the others leave, not like the White Walkers, but everybody else, besides Jon, Melisandre, and Stannis, Stannis tells Jon that Horpe and Massey want Winterfell as a seat, but he says Massey wants Val, as in the warrior princess, the wildling princess, as a wife, but Horpe only lusts for battle, and he calls him fond of killing. So what did I say? So they have all this meeting, and Massey and Horpe are there, and then a bunch of other people, and then after, they're all like, let's march on the Dreadfort. Jon's like, no, bad idea, and he keeps having an inner monologue like, stop helping them, but he's like, no, it's a bad idea. And then finally, and then Richard Horpe's like, well, I think we should. And he's like, well, you're wrong. It's too risky. And he's like, risk is a part of war. Yeah, but people lose wars too because of risks. So after they all leave, Stannis is like, by the way, Justin Massey and Richard Horpe both want Winterfell. Although Massey wants to marry Val, the warrior princess, but Horpe doesn't. He just likes killing. Yeah, Richard Horpe. He's fond of killing, that one. All right. So second in command, Stannis is victorious at the fight at Deepwood Motte, where they capture Asha Greyjoy. Richard Horpe serves as Stannis' second in command during the march on Winterfell, with Stannis' men slowed by a blizzard at a council. Slowed by a blizzard. At a council, Richard insists they must press on the attack to Winterfell, suggesting if they leave the weak behind, they can only be 3 days away. Lord Peasbury fights with Big Bucket Wool as the council devolves into fights. So under the command of Richard, the army stops at it. So they keep marching after that. And then they stop at a crofter's village outside of Winterfell. So Richard tasks his men with fishing in the nearby lakes. Richard questions Justin's courage and dedication to R'hllor. Yeah, I mean, it's something that happens, but mostly this guy's the second in command now. Stannis has Richard Horpe really kind of commanding a lot of the march. And they're like, let's just go take Winterfell. And people say, well, we can't. We're moving too slow. And then Richard's like, we just leave these weaklings and sick behind. Probably to die, but they're like, no. And then they make it to the Crofter's village, and they were going to march the next day, and then a big blizzard happens. They stay. So yeah, so Richard's kind of in charge of that march, and he's the one who goes, let's start fishing. Come on, let's get some fish. Everyone likes fish. So all right, Moths in Winter. So we are already at where his story ends, and it's in the Winds of Winter. So I always have to say before we get to Winds of Winter sample chapter, so this came from the Theon sample chapter, they are not canon. The book's not published yet, so take this one with a little bit of a grain of salt. Just know that we got it from the sample chapters, but yeah, it's actually a really good one. So, the wow disclaimer. That's what I just did. Winter disclaimer. Richard is present along with Sir Godry Faring, that's the Giant Slayer, and Clayton Suggs, Secret Targaryen, when Stannis interrogates Master Tybalt about his loyalties. Richard is then put in charge of, disarming Arnulf Kaulstark's men. While Stannis breaks his fast with Arnulf, his son Arthur and his grandsons, Richard and the other Queensmen, especially Suggs, want to sacrifice Theon. Oh, sorry. I put emphasis. Okay. So when he's like, hey, I'm going to meet with Arnulf and his grandsons, and then Stannis is like, Richard, you go and like take care of everybody. Like, go disarm the Karstarks. Like just go hang out with them and then just kind of make sure they can't attack us if we take him hostage. So after that, I should have hit enter. Richard and other Queensmen, especially Suggs, want to sacrifice Theon Greyjoy to the Lord of Light, although Stannis is skeptical of Richard's sincerity. So, yeah, now, they were skeptical of Massey. Now Stannis is skeptical of Richard Horpe. But anyways, that's it. The Burns people guys were saying, let's burn Theon. But, yeah. So that's kind of it. Small characters, kind of a small video. I just thought he was cool. He's like the moth guy. He kind of seems a little edgy. I want to talk about him, but he's definitely a much, much smaller character. I've covered smaller characters in this, but he's not a big small one. All right, let's talk about the only stuff that the only theories we really have. So Mothman theories. Sadly, not a ton of theories about good old Richie Mothman. A Reddit post by LChris24 speculated which Kingsguard that Cersei chose over Horpe. With little to no information on this, it is mostly just speculation. But the two likely choices were Maris or Boris Blount, although it very well can be any knight other than Jaime or Barristan, because Jaime and Barristan are the only Kingsguard that actually made it down from Ares. So at any point, we don't know when this took place. It could have been right after Robert took over or later, but they had to name a bunch of people. And during all this, it could have been at any time, but most people think either Boros or Meryn, because even Ned knows that they are definitely Cersei's creatures more than anybody else. So maybe she wanted to put one of her creatures in, but we don't really know. Just fun little speculation. There's another post tossing out names for Kingsguard for Stannis, with Richard's name being put forth. That's fun. The Reddit post was from Hapan Hapan and Ikar. Okay. I don't know how to say that. But anyways, they was just saying if Stannis could make a small or a Kingsguard, well, who would be in it? And his name was brought up, and then it was Roland Storm, which I completely see, and then a bunch of other people. But yeah, this is my fun little Richard Horpe video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Click like if you have, or if you want, if you enjoyed it. If you didn't, you don't need to click like. You don't need to click dislike either. Do what you want. But yeah, subscribe if you haven't, and if you want to check out a bunch of other stuff. I've been covering so many A Song of Ice and Fire characters. So there's a bunch. Go find them. But yeah, thank you very guys for watching, and yeah, put the lotion in the basket. Peace.